How's it going, everyone? It is I, Anime Outlet, and this is part 5 of What If Deku Had Kaioken. And now, before I start this What If off, I would like to thank Dubnushi for making the thumbnails for this series. A link in the description to their channel. There's also a link in the description to the channel memberships, so if you're interested in becoming one, there is more information on that by clicking that link, or by clicking the blue join button next to the subscribe button down below. I thank you all for watching, and now, let's begin. Those of you who have done well in a sports festival should have gotten some internship requests. So there should be papers lying up on these 3 tables for all of you. Depending on how well you did will be however much internship offers you've gotten. And Izuku and Todoroki, Nezu would like to speak with you in his office, so you all can go right now. So Izuku and Todoroki would end up getting up and walking to wherever Nezu's office was, as they would sit down as Nezu would then turn to speak with them. So, as you two know, you both got very high placements in the UA Sports Festival. You, Izuku, got first, and you, Todoroki, got second. So, I am giving you two the offer, or the chance, to just have your own temporary hero license, so you can use your just quirks out in public. This is the first time I'm doing this, so please don't make me regret it. Both Izuku and Todoroki would instantly accept this offer, as Nezu would then tell them that they have off the next week, while all the rest of their classmates are choosing their internships, they can go out and start to fight crime right now. Her hero names have already been chosen, and that's what the public will be knowing them as. So, just to get a better reputation, this is their chance to do that now. Izuku and Todoroki would walk out of the classroom, as Todoroki would be staring down at his hero license, as he would end up walking out of UA along with Izuku, as Izuku would ask him, where do you think they should go? Todoroki would think for a hard minute before saying it to Izuku, I think we should go to the city. That of course should be the area with the most crime after all. Izuku would nod his head in agreement, as they would then travel to the city, they would do this after, of course, putting their hero costumes on. So when they would arrive, they would end up walking out on the streets, as Izuku would tell them they should probably try to get up to the rooftops, as they would go into an alleyway before flying up to the rooftops, where they would then start to jump from place to place, just looking for any crime they could solve. So this would end up going on for a couple of days, as they just couldn't find anything. They'd stop a few crimes, maybe a robbery or two, but there was nothing too big. They were only small robberies like a thief stealing a woman's purse or just pickpocketing someone. So finally, on the last day that their temporary licenses were valid for, they would end up spotting the biggest thing of their lives. It was the hero killer known as Stain, as Izuku and Todoroki would both look towards each other and would then nod their heads as they would drop down, as they would see Stain standing there over a hero called Native, as Izuku would tell Stain that his reign of terror over the lower level of heroes has finally ended. Stain would look towards them, as he would see they were wearing hero costumes. Don't you all look a bit young to be heroes? As Izuku would then laugh. Sure, we're still in UA after all. Thankfully, Nezu gave us these temporary hero licenses, so we still have every right to beat you up and put you in jail behind bars where you belong. As Stain would then laugh. These heroes have been out here for years and still can't solve who I am, and you're gonna think you puny students could do that? As Stain would launch himself right towards Izuku and Todoroki, slashing up with his sword right at Todoroki, as blood would then have gotten out of a cut right across Todoroki's face, as Stain would then lick his sword, causing Todoroki to instantly freeze. As Izuku, seeing this, would instantly realize what Stain's quirk was. they really didn't know what his quirk was, as the news was only guessing. So now, with Izuku knowing that if Stain had any taste of his blood, he could freeze him, Izuku wasn't going to have this happen. Izuku would grab Todoroki by the arms, lifting him up and flying up over to the top of a rooftop before placing him down, telling him to come down whenever he just is able to move again. All of a sudden, someone comes rounding a corner, and this happened to be their very own classmate named Tenya Ida. As he would realize Izuku was standing there fighting him, as Ida would start to back away quietly before jerking his head around the corner, as he would just start to think to himself, "What's Izuku doing here? Why is he fighting Stain? Did he just find him here?" As Izuku would look towards Stain, as he would charge him very quickly. However, before Izuku could even get close to Stain, or even within the reach of Stain's blades, Izuku would plant his foot down hard before launching himself towards the wall, as he would start to bounce back and forth off of the wall very quickly. He had determined if he moves so fast that Stain can't keep up with him and can't use his blades, Izuku knew this was going to be an easy fight. So Izuku would start to jump all around, sort of like Gran Torino did, to teach Izuku how to use just all these different techniques that he had done to Izuku, like full cowling. So Izuku, bouncing around this wall, who had just thought of this strategy by himself, would end up launching himself towards Stain and headbutting him right in the gut, as he would then kick off of Stain, sending him flying back into the dumpster behind him, as Izuku would continue on launching. As Stain would just get even angrier and angrier, he couldn't really do anything about it. He wasn't going to try to catch Izuku, as he knew Izuku was just going to try to counterattack this. So Stain would end up grabbing both of his blades and would just start slashing in the air, basically making it so that Izuku couldn't attack him. However, Stain forgot one very important detail about his backside. He couldn't just slash his sword up with as much power as he could in front of him. So Izuku would use this to his advantage, appearing right behind Stain before punching him in his back, causing Stain's back to end up cracking and would probably end up breaking at the sheer power of Izuku's punch. As Stain would lay there limp on the ground, not able to just move at all, having just the sheer pain of having his back broken by a singular punch, Izuku would end up seeing Todoroki jump down, as Ito would end up walking into the alleyway. "So, Izuku, it appears you have defeated the hero killer. You possibly need anything to restrain him?" Ito would ask Izuku. "No, I don't think that's necessary. He doesn't seem to be moving after the punch I landed on his back, so we might as well not tie anything too tight around him to risk any further injury." Ito would nod his head, as he would then call the police and ambulance, as they would end up arriving, taking away Stain. The next morning, Izuku would end up being on the news, as he had been revealed as the hero that had saved the hero killer, or had stopped the hero killer, as Izuku would instantly get recognized throughout Japan as the person that stopped the hero killer, Stain, as even someone like Endeavor, who was hunting him down, couldn't end up stopping him. So Izuku would end up just being seen as a very powerful hero that was almost unknown. So when Izuku had disappeared off of the face of the map, people would start to look for him. They just didn't know where he was. That's because his identity was protected by his hero costume. Now, if you're wondering how this is, that is because Nezu gave both Izuku and Todoroki completely different hero costumes from the one they had chosen out, like Izuku's gi. Now, this is because he didn't want anyone to know that they were hero students at UA, as pretty much most people have seen what the next generation of heroes looked like in Class 1A, along with their hero costumes. So with them changing it up, they weren't too sure who Izuku was. So Izuku would end up walking into his class, as many of the students wouldn't realize who had beaten the hero killer, as they didn't realize it was one of their own classmates. However, Ida and Todoroki had known about it. So Izuku sitting there would end up seeing Zawa walking through, telling them that summer is soon upon them, and they are going to be doing a summer training camp, as they really have no need to test the students any further, and would just like to have them train their quirks. They decided to just stop the final exams because of all the things that have been happening so far to them, and just have more time at this summer training camp so that they can train their quirks even further. Many of the students would nod their heads in agreement, excited to see what was coming next for this training camp. Weeks would end up passing as the summer training camp had finally just been upon them, as they would all be driving on a bus, as Aizawa would then tell the bus driver to stop. He would stop the bus right at a cliff, as the heroes there at summer training camp would end up coming out of nowhere, as all of the students would wonder who they were, and all of a sudden the cliff would start to cave in on itself, causing all of the students to start to fall. However, Izuku and Todoroki were able to catch themselves before falling by flying, as they would then hear the heroes there telling them that they have to fly over to whatever place it is, which you can see in the woods, while the rest of their classmates have to find their way there, while battling through tough objects created by some of our quirks. Both Izuku and Todoroki would their head as they would then just zoom off, flying towards the main area. Izuku and Todoroki would end up getting to the summer training camp main campus before everyone else, as they just flew right over the forest. Many of their classmates would end up spotting Todoroki and Izuku flying right over them, as they would end up becoming jealous, as they would wonder how could they do that, as they knew it was Todoroki's quirk. How could he just somehow one day fly? Why couldn't they do that, they wondered. So they would end up making it there, as the heroes who had already arrived there would end up putting them through another 3 hours of grueling training, as this is what it meant to become a hero. If you're not willing to put up with such hard training, you're not going to be able to be a hero and fight villains that have put up with so much worse, wanting to kill you every single day, as that is a part of being a hero. If you're going to become one, there's going to be people that want you dead every single day. There's going to be people coming after you, and you got to be able to be strong enough to defeat them, and this is how you're going to be able to do that. And they've already experienced something like this within the USJ, so they should easily know how dangerous hero work is. And that's where I'm going to leave this what if off, everyone. I'm sorry it's really short, as it's not my usual 15 or 20 minute long video, as I just couldn't record for much longer like I could usually other days. However, I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.